Well, hello and welcome everyone to the New Health Conversation on Christmas Eve. Depending on what part of the world you're in, wow, it's already midnight in some parts of the world, so I guess you're already into Christmas Day. But anyway, welcome everyone. What we're going to talk about today is I want you to all understand, and especially TikTok, we're only giving medical proof. There's no lotions, potions, pills, drugs, whatever. These results are actual results. They were backed medically in 10 peer-reviewed human trial medical studies. There's nothing higher in medical review. That lady, you can see it there in 5 weeks. Look at the transformation. There's no photoshopping going on. Look at her face, look at her arms, look at her stomach area, look at her legs, look at how much she shrank. That's what makes us so different. The basic premise is really simple. These researchers, they really looked at why, for 38 years, they'd done 100 studies on thousands of people, and they really figured out what didn't work. What didn't work was focusing on, number one, they realized that counting calories is the most ridiculous thing ever, because a calorie is nothing more than a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree. So Jeff Brown, MD, hopefully you agree with this. What the researchers focused on was on nutrition. And they said that in all the diets out there, all you're really doing is lowering the amount of nutrition. The problem with that is we have a minimum amount of nutrition that the brain, the kidney, the liver, the heart, they all run on. When you lower the amount of food you're consuming, you're lowering the amount of nutrition, which triggers in the brain survival mode. It prevents you from burning fat and turns to your muscles for fuel. Every study out there on diets, yes, people, you can lose weight on the Twinkie diet. I'm not making this up. But when they analyze it, up to 40% of what people are actually losing on diets is lean muscle mass, which causes the body, it doesn't have a choice. It has to slow down metabolism. That's why people plateau. That's why they come off these diets and they gain everything back. Okay? Now, what the researchers did, they said, wait a minute, we need to reverse this. Could we come up with a protocol where we lower the amount of food people consume, but not lower the amount of nutrition? How did they do it? Okay, not lotions, potions, pills, capsules, whatever. They simply looked at food and they said the food in North America is really nutritionally insufficient to be able to reduce the quantity of food we consume and not drastically lower the amount of nutrition, which puts us in the survival mode. So what they did, they limited the amount of food you'd consume, 30% a list of proteins, fats, carbs, et cetera, that you would buy from the grocery store. And then they tell you the amounts of those foods as well. That's number one. Number two, and here's the most critical part. The researchers, had located other food suppliers who had 5 foods that the researchers used that came from Russia, Mongolia, from Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, that represented massive amounts of nutrition to form what these researchers claimed is the world's most perfect meals ever, nutritionally based. So that's what they had. 30% of the food from the grocery store, the other 70%. Now, by the way, the researchers don't sell anything. They don't have a company. We don't sell you anything. So essentially what the researchers did was assemble a different group of foods that would represent massive amounts of nutrition, but not massive amounts of quantity. So it was quality over quantity. Does everybody get that? Then what they invented were 2 new ways of consuming food based on the world's most perfect meals and regular food. So 5 days a week, they had people, this will shock you, they had 4 meals a day. They started with the world's most perfect meal, they had lunch from the grocery list, they had third meal from the grocery list, and the 4th meal of the day was the world's most perfect meal, 5 days a week. 2 days a week, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not time-restricted eating. Nutritionally supported fasting for the first time. They gave people these 5 foods that made up the world's most perfect meals 4 times a day. And what were the results? In 7 days, men and women lost as much weight as people lost on diets in 8 weeks. Not only that, but women lost a whole dress size. Men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist in 7 days. By the way, no one was allowed to exercise. In a month's time, people lost as much weight as people lost in a year, lost no water weight, and actually instead of losing lean muscle, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Again, those pictures you're looking at there are not photoshopped. I swear my kids' lives, my grandkids' lives, we didn't touch those photos. That actually is what happened to her in 5 weeks. Look at the difference in her body. Because one of the things we know is that all of you, including me, are suffering from this new medical syndrome called TDOS. It stands for toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, overweight, and stress. It's a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. Yeah, I did discover it, but that's not what's important. We now know that we're breathing, drinking, eating chemicals. And as they enter our body, the body takes the chemical and stuffs it in our fat cell. And the fat cells, think of it like a balloon. So the chemicals in it expands the balloon. Well, in the studies where they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, they proved this was removing chemicals from our body, and those fat cells shrank. Look at her. That's what happened. And notice it's from her neck to her ankles where she shrank. Now, I know you think we photoshopped it. We didn't Photoshop it. This is not a diet. This is like, see, and I get tremendous amount of pushback. Why? Because the people that are instructing or telling you are telling you what they've learned, what they know from people, that's what they knew, etc. But it's not working, ladies and gentlemen. In 1964, 10% of the United States was overweight or obese. Now we sit here today, 80% of America is overweight, 50% are obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Do any of you think diets are working? Please put in the chat a diet you think that works. None of them work long-term. None of it's my opinion. Let's go to some big medical studies. First one, why you shouldn't count calories. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long-term. And what's even worse, 2/3 of people who counter restrict calories gain back all their weight. Now, I know one study may not be enough, but let's go now to what's called a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is the study of studies. In this case, they examined 80 weight loss clinical trials, and the researchers compared different forms of lowering calories to lose weight. They found that any diet reducing caloric intake produced weight loss, but people's weight steadily came back to where they started, and many people beyond. 80 studies proving that counting calories. See, the problem is when you count the calorie and ignore the nutrition, you've missed the whole point. We need to change our labeling, not how many calories does it have, but how much nutrition. The body doesn't know what a calorie is. Why in the heck are we been told to count calories? It's ridiculous. It only matters about nutrition. And you have a minimum level you need in order to run all brain, kidney, liver, etc. So these diets, when you go on them, all you're doing is lowering the amount of food you're consuming, whether you know it or not. But what else are you lowering? Nutrition. Triggering the starvation. But that's what these researchers figured out. They don't sell anything. They don't have a company. They had 38 years and looked at 100 studies. Thousands of diets didn't work. They had a theory. This was a theory. They didn't know if it was going to work or not. Could we give people less food, but not less nutrition? That's what they did. So 30% of what you would consume in a month, you buy from the grocery store. The other 70% comes from these 5 foods around the world that these other researchers had found that came from Russia, Mongolia, Nepal, and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, that represented huge amounts of nutrition, but not huge amounts of quantity. Does that make sense to everyone? Then they created these 2 new ways of consuming the food. 5 days a week, you do something called protein pacing, where you literally have 4 meals a day. What? Yeah. You start with the World's Most Perfect Meal. You have lunch from the grocery list. You have a 3rd meal from the grocery list, and your 4th meal is from this World's Most Perfect Meal. And 2 days a week, you do intermittent nutritional fasting, where those days, no food from the grocery store, but you're eating, you're getting nutrition while you're fasting for 48 hours once a week. The result, look at the results. That's 5 weeks. Now, I mean, I know what I'm fighting here. Unless you think I'm lying, which I'm not, those are the real results. And we have a free website that any of you can go to. I'm going to put it in the chat for all of you down at the bottom on the where the comments are. You can go there at any moment for free. There's nothing to buy there. So I don't want to get censored by the people monitoring all these things. We don't need to make up anything. We have solid medical proof. There's nothing to buy on that site. If you go to the site, there's nothing to buy. The only thing there is the medical proof, including an interview with the number one weight loss nutrition physiologist in the whole world. He and his team are the ones that created this. It's called R2M. You know what that stands for? Race to maintenance. What? Notice maintenance is at the end. Here's why. There's no doubt you're going to lose the weight. That's not even up for debate. But the key is, once you've lost the weight, you're at the end of the beginning. This whole program is based on maintenance, on your ability to lose that weight as quickly and safely as possible, and then we teach you how to maintain it. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks 22 years ago. I've kept it off for 22 years. That's what should excite you. Now I know most of you, you're gonna go off right into the sunset and you're gonna do paleo or keto or Mediterranean. January 2nd, everybody's gonna start. They're not gonna work. There's no evidence that diets by lowering calories works long term. I had a fitness trainer, had a pretty heated discussion telling me how I didn't know what I was talking about, that the only way to lose weight is calories in, calories out, and this intermittent fasting where you don't eat for 16 hours, eat for 8. I said, okay, show me the medical proof. He sent me 3 peer-reviewed human trial studies. Okay, that's good to start. The studies were 6 months long. You know how much people lost in 6 months? 12 pounds. This is insane. This is what we're doing. The bar is so low that it's crazy. And the thing that should terrify everybody is let me find it here. I'll find it in a minute. That all the numbers, all of the evidence is that things are getting worse and worse and worse. Here's Johns Hopkins Medical School. Study predicts obesity apocalypse. By 2030, 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese in 5 years. Does that sound to you like the diet you're about to go on is going to work long term? Because like I said in that other article they wrote, why you shouldn't count calories. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories, restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse is 2/3 of people that go on diets by counting or restricting calories gain back more weight than they lost. So you're going on a diet with a 66 2/3% chance that you're going to gain more weight than you lost. Why would you do that? Because that's what everybody's telling us to do. And that's what they were told to do. I don't fault them. They're telling you what they know. But what if everything we thought we knew about diet, exercise, nutrition was 100% wrong? Because it is. Do you get it? Can anybody put in the chat, Nolan or Carolyn or anybody, can anybody put in there a diet you think works long term? And when I'm looking at this meta-analysis of 80 weight loss clinical trials, the researchers compared different forms of lowering calories to lose weight, found that any diet by reducing calories, initially people lost weight, but people's weight steadily came back to where they started and beyond. That's 80 studies backing this up. We're just defining the definition of insanity. In 1964, 10% of Americans were overweight and obese. This year, it's 80% overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Does that sound like anything? Why would you do it? Because it's the only thing you know. Because it's the only thing we've been told. By who? By the influencers, by the people you're seeing on social media, with all due respect. There's fitness trainers, there's doctors, there's chiropractors, nutritionists, dietitians, weight loss coaches, health coaches. No, they have it totally wrong. Starting with the whole concept of counting calories is nuts. The human body doesn't know what a calorie is. It's a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. What you need to be concerned about, forget the calories. When you're hungry, you're not hungry for calories, first of all. What you're hungry for is nutrition, because that's what runs the body. So when you go on a diet and you lower the amount of food you're consuming, what else you're lowering? Nutrition. That's why these diets can't possibly work, because when the brain senses not enough fuel, it will slow down your metabolism. And it interferes with your own immune system. So those diets that all these people are propagating, they're doing something to us, not for us. The main reason to do this is not to lose weight. The main reason to do this is what? To massively increase your wellness potential. In 30 days, people's blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all came down dramatically in 30 days. People's hunger came down 41% in 30 days, and inflammation, for the first time ever, that's never been shown on any of these other studies on calories in, calories out, it went down, inflammation went down 25% in a month. In 8 weeks, people shrank like her, shrank their visceral fat, that's the fat around the organs. It went down by 33% in 8 weeks, no one allowed to exercise. I mean, honestly, are you that? Are we, not you, just in general, are we that brainwashed that we have no other alternative? Because that was the only alternative. The alternative has always been, look at all the studies, they all talked about reducing calories. It's just so idiotic because, again, so let me give you another calorie example, because they're telling you it's just a math equation. Even Harvard said that. Let me find that. Oh yeah, Harvard said, stop counting calories. Most people are taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. Cut calories, specifically 3,500, and you'll lose a pound. But as it turns out, experts are learning that this decades-old strategy is totally misguided. They go on to say, The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard. Drop the calories notion and concentrate on what's in our food, not how much food we're consuming. Well, we're looking at 80 different studies on, the researchers looked at studies on diets by lowering calories, and they said they found that, yes, diets by reducing calories, is using their measurement, produce weight loss. But people steadily gain back all their weight and more. 80 studies. Why are you counting calories? Why are you going on a diet? Because I know this is like it's like a cult out there. I get hate mail. How dare you? You don't know what you're talking about. You're selling snake oil. Really? Before I could sell it, where do you buy snake oil? It's so ridiculous. We come from a position of science. We come from a position of absolute medical proof. We don't make claims. And right there, yeah, that's the part of it. I love your comment, but it's beyond that. Even if you try and eat, here's the sad part. Let's just say, for example, Nolene, that you say, okay, I'm going to do all organic and I'm doing whole foods. Our food is all but nutritionally bankrupt in this country. I'll give you a quick example. A bowl of spinach from 1953 to today, Cornell University, Nolene, did analysis on the iron levels in spinach. It's decreased since 1953 to today by 4,300%. You'd have to eat about 40 bowls of spinach today to equal. Why do you think we're so sick? Why do you think? Do you know that the major portion of the health, the sickness world, the healthcare budget is what are called chronic diseases, which are driven by lifestyle, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attacks, cancer, by what we're putting in our bodies. We're digging our own grave with a knife and fork and a spoon. You're right. It's not just that we forgot how to eat. Where are you going to get the food that had the nutrition that our food used to have like 150 years ago? That's what these researchers did. They limited the amount of food you consumed to only 30%, a very specific list that you would buy from the grocery store, Whole Foods, organic, etc., but only 30%. The other 70% came from 5 food groups from around the world, from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, that represented massive amounts of nutrition, not mass amounts of quantity. That's why this worked, because the problem with all diets out there is all you're doing is reducing. We have a minimum amount of nutrition that our body runs on. That's a floor. On diets, you go below that. You're reducing the quantity. Why is no one talking about this? It's so obvious. When you lower the amount of food you're consuming, you lower the amount of nutrition, the brain figures out there's not enough fuel, and it automatically shuts down, slows down your metabolism. That's why you plateau. That's why these people, they're all gaining all their weight back and more. Every diet out there is nonsense. And the majority of what you're losing on any diet is lean muscle mass, which does slow down the metabolism and interferes with your own immune system. Well, our immune system, isn't that kind of important to us? Are any of these influencers ever even talking about any of these things? Are any of them telling you that everybody, including me, have this medical syndrome discovered? TDOS, toxicity driven by deficiency, overweight, and stress. Registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. It's a new medical condition. You're drinking, breathing, eating chemicals, whether you know it or not. You can't avoid it. And what is your body doing when these chemicals enter our body? The immune system runs. They can't deal with it. So what does it do? The body, to protect us, takes the chemical and stuffs it in our visceral fat. The visceral fat is the fat around your organs. No diet has ever touched this. These researchers who did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis proved this protocol, first and foremost, was helping the body get rid of these toxins. That's why people shrank, literally. Her! Look at her. There you go. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Unless you think we photoshopped it, which we didn't. And this is completely safe. Why? Because it's backed by 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies in the biggest medical journals in the world. It's not an opinion. It's not like we're making a claim. It's not like anything other than saying this is real. And we provided you a free, so much chemicals in our food. Well, that's the TDOS syndrome. There you go. It's not just in your food. It's in the air. Did you see the thing on Starbucks coffee, Nolene, about, I think it was 8 or 10 weeks ago? 1 cup of coffee, you're getting 25,000 microplastics in every cup of coffee. We're storing this. Why do you think we're so overweight? Now, I don't want any of you to believe me. Let's go to the medical research on this. Let me find it here. One moment. Hold on. Let me fix this. I got to fix one thing real quick. Okay, there we go. I'm going to read to you from the latest research But by the way, we never even knew we were storing chemicals in our body until 2005, Mount Sinai Medical School in New York. And wait till you hear this. This is why we have this crisis, okay? The Endocrine Society, the largest organization of experts devoted to the research of hormones and the clinical practice of endocrinology, reports the rise in the incidence in obesity matches the rise in the use and distribution of industrialized chemicals. They call these chemicals obesogens, okay? Here's what they say. Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal system, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our body from a variety of sources, from natural compounds found in soy, hormones fed to animals, plastics in food packaging, chemicals added to processed food, and pesticides sprayed on produce. They act in a variety of ways mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, ladies, are you listening? Blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, are you listening, men? And essentially reprogram us to gain weight. What are any of you doing about obesogens? Have you even heard of them before today? No diet has ever touched this. So all my friends out there that want to wrestle with me and argue with me, etc., what are you doing about the TDOS syndrome? Zero, nothing. The main reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's like thrown in. We don't even consider that. Because the whole key to this is to show you how to healthily, the most healthy way, lose the weight. There's no lotions, potions, pills, capsules. No, nothing. This is all natural. It's food. But very specific food, only 30% from North America and 70% from these sources around the world that have tremendous amounts of nutrition, not tremendous amounts of quantity. Why is this such a hard concept for people to get? I'm not saying any of you. I'm just saying that this is the pushback that I get, that I don't know what I'm talking about. Of course, it's about calories in and calories out. They accused me on my website. I said, look, although we're reducing the amount of food you're consuming, call it calories, which it's really not, we're not reducing the amount of nutrition. That's the whole key to this, that the researchers were able to give you less food, but not give you less nutrition. How did the body react? Men and women, there's how they reacted. Look at the transformation in 5 weeks with no exercise. I know you're having a hard time grasping, thinking that anything like this is real. It is real. That's not photoshopped. I mean, what more evidence do you need? When 80 studies say that counting calories, yes, you lose weight on, and you can lose weight on the Twinkies diet by lowering the amount of food, but then people gain back all their weight and more. Every study, and what you're losing is lean muscle mass, which is one of the most unhealthy things you could ever do to yourselves. Again, please, anybody put in the chat a diet you think works. On what basis would you be basing the fact it works? You know, there's so much stuff out there. It's crazy. Go to Barnes and Noble and look at how many diets we have. It's insane. It's crazy. You know, and the thing is, what we're doing to ourselves. Hello, Susan. That picture, that before and after, Susan, that's real. That's not photoshopped. Look at that. That's basically in 5 weeks. Look at her. Look at her neck, look at her arms, look at her stomach, look at her legs. Look at, she literally shrank. And notice, no loose skin. There's nothing like this on planet Earth ever. These researchers that invented it, who don't sell anything, they don't have a company, it's all food and a new way of consuming food. Don't you think we need a new approach rather than this counting calories nonsense? Your body doesn't know what a calorie is. It's a measurement. Aha. But our body does know and runs on only one thing, nutrition. Yeah, food's pleasurable and it tastes good, but the main reason you eat food is for nutrition. It's the fuel that runs all your organs in your body. When you go on a diet and you lower the amount of food you're consuming, if you're using regular food, you're also lowering the amount of nutrition. It triggers the starvation mode. And your body in starvation mode, you can't burn fat. You're going to burn your muscles. We know it. Up to 40% of what you lose on any diet is your lean muscle mass. What are you doing? Or I would say, why are you doing it? This podcast, it's changing a lot of people's lives. We have a real challenge on our hands, and that challenge is that we want to make you aware, and you can go, the website, I'm going to put it down there on the bottom again, it's free to go there. There's nothing to buy on that website. There's no tricks, there's no gimmicks, there's no anything. The only thing on that website is the actual medical proof of what they did in the studies is an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world, not me, who invented this. So is this making sense to Nolene, to Susan, to Dana? I mean, honestly, ladies, have you ever seen anything like that? Now, before you think we photoshopped it, we didn't. I swear on my kids' lives and my grandkids' lives, we didn't touch, those are absolute before and afters. But look at the transformation in her body. It's the body see, none of these diets ever deal with body composition. Because the body composition, we know that people on diets are losing up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. That's why they have all that loose skin. They're not losing fat. Despite the myths, despite what you're being told, you open your eyes, look at people, look at what's going on. It's a travesty. You have an amazing opportunity. This is food, 30% from the United States and 70% from these sources around the world, but also consumption in a totally different way. I mean, I would just say that it's crazy what people are doing. They're like, people come on and they get off. They think it's not a diet. Honestly, any of you, Nolene, have you ever, again, and you don't have to comment if you don't want to, but have you ever seen anything like that before and after? But that's not the only one. If you go to the website, there's a whole bunch of them. There's people on there, men and women, lost 100 pounds. Excuse me, no loose skin. There's no equivalent to this on planet Earth. And I really believe that the thing is that we're going to continue to scream. You understand, I'm against the whole world because they're all attacking me. That I don't know what I'm talking about, and it's only about calories in, calories out. I'm an idiot. It's about energy. No, it's not. It's about fuel. It's about nutrition. It's about the amount of nutrition that you have in order to run all your organs in your body so that you don't end up in a position where your body doesn't have enough fuel. And then what does it do? It shuts down your fat burning and turns your muscles into fuel, slowing down your metabolism. That's why you're gaining all the weight back on all the diets you've ever done. Carolyn, FYP, I'm not sure, hashtag FYP, I'm not sure what that means. But if you want to expand on that, I'd be happy to answer. Hello, Jose. Again, I don't know what more, unless you think we're lying, unless you think we photoshopped, I'd like anybody to show me any diet they've ever seen that's ever produced a result even resembling this, okay? I'll show you another picture, and again, I want the police to understand that are patrolling what we're saying. This girl, this is 30 days, natural food, okay? Not a weird, she didn't take any drugs, nothing. So what I want you to see here is, this is exactly 30 days. She lost 21.2 pounds, 38.75 inches in 30 days. And look at the difference in her stomach on her as well. Now, before we get all excited and say, oh my God, it's unhealthy to lose that much weight that fast on a diet. Yes, this is medically proven. That's the safest thing you could ever do. The faster you can lose weight, all the research says, the longer and more possibility you're going to keep the weight off forever. I understand it's completely out of bounds, because if we were telling you to do this on traditional diets, yeah, I'd be in huge trouble. So my point is that I think the main thing to be focusing on is to go to the website, Dana or any of you can see it there, the New Health Conversation, and go and take a hard look at the medical evidence. And we're not going to contact you. If you go there, we don't do that. We're absolutely 100% not going to contact you. The only way that you'll get a hold of us is if you decide you like what you see, then you can scroll down. There's nothing to buy there. We don't sell things on that website. People have accused me, oh, it's a commercial site. No, it's not. There's nothing to buy there. And as a matter of fact, anything you would buy, you don't even buy it from us. You buy it either from your food, from your grocery store, or from these 5 foods, from these suppliers who supply these foods to the studies. Does everybody understand that? So again, Susan or Dan, any of you, would you, or Jose, would any of you like to ask me any questions about this? Please put it in the chat, because I'm going to finish up here probably in less than 10 minutes, but I'll stay. If you have a question and I haven't answered it, I will stay and give it to you. But again, for the new people coming on, diets about counting calories are completely obsolete. Here I hold in my hand a study of 80 weight loss clinical trials. The researchers compared different forms of lowering calories to lose weight. They found that any diet by reducing the calories, people lost weight. But people's weight always came back to where they started, and many people ended up weighing more than when they started. So you're going on a diet just to gain all the weight back. 80 studies, 80, not 8, 80. And yet the research, they're all these influencers telling you what? The only way, calories in, calories out. Nonsense. Your body doesn't even know what a calorie is. It's a measurement. Why are we counting calories? Because that's what they were taught, and they're teaching you. But can we be honest? With 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, do you think that anything we're doing is working? Up until now. She's living proof of that. Look at that. With no exercise. So can you imagine, ladies, you're able to, it's not a diet, HCM. Let me explain it to you, okay? I'm going to explain it to you. But look at her before and after. And you missed this one, HCM. Let me show you this one. This is not photoshopped in any way. This has some actual numbers to it. This is exactly 30 days. Her before and after is 5 weeks, but this one we have the numbers. So in 30 days, she lost 21.2 pounds and 39 inches, and it's completely safe. It's backed by 10 peer-reviewed medical studies. There's no drugs involved. It's food in a different way. It's not about deprivation. It's about abundance. So what the researchers did, to let you know, HCM, they had 38 years, 100 studies, thousands of people. They're the ones that figured this out. And they said this: the reason diets don't work is forget calorie counting, because the body doesn't even know what a calorie is. All a diet is reducing the amount of food you're consuming. But the fallacy in that is the body has a minimum amount of nutrition that we run on, not calories. When you go on a diet and you lower the amount of food you're consuming, you're also lowering the amount of nutrition. The researchers knew that. So what did they do? They put together completely different food groups, only 30% organic food from the United States. That was it. The other 70% came from 5 foods from around the world that these researchers don't sell. They don't have a company. We don't sell you anything. But the suppliers who supply these 5 foods to the researchers, and those foods came from around the world. They came from Russia, Tibet in the Himalayas, Mongolia, South America, and New Zealand, that represented what the researchers call the world's most perfect meals nutritionally. Not quantity-wise, quality-wise. Then they invented 2 different ways of consuming it. Not a diet. Nothing like a diet. Well, imagine 5 days a week, you're going to have 4 meals a day. You're going to start with the world's most perfect meal, lunch from the grocery list, a third meal from the grocery list, and your last meal of the day, the world's most perfect meal. 2 days a week, you're going to do something called, listen to me carefully, intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting. Nutritionally supported fasting. And what was the result? Well, in 7 days, men and women lost as much weight as 8 weeks of any diet. Men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist in a week. In a month, they lost as much weight as people lost in a year. Well, look at these numbers. Look at her. That's not Photoshop, whether you think it is or not. The weight you're losing is the kind of weight you want to lose. You're not losing lean muscle. In the studies, in a month, people gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, and no one was allowed to exercise. And yet you can go and see is it FGS? I don't even know I just joined. What's the diet, James? I'm not sure. What is FGS, if you wouldn't mind, James? Seriously, I have no idea what the acronym means. And then you can see it. No, it's called R2M. It's called race to maintenance, because, James, the whole key to this is not just losing the weight. It's to lose it as quickly and safely as possible. And then you're at the end of the beginning. You're at the starting line. Now we teach you to maintain it. Look, James, I lost 40 pounds in 22 weeks. In 7 weeks, not 22 weeks. In 22 years, I've kept it off. So 40 pounds, 7 weeks, 22 years ago. I've kept it off for 22 years. The whole point of doing this is to reverse the downward trend on all these diets where everybody's gaining all their weight back and more. It doesn't matter what the name of the diet is. That's why the numbers keep going up, 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 up in the national statistics. In 1964, 10% of America's overweight. This year, it's 80% overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. And Johns Hopkins has just come out and said that the study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese. So are we going to continue? Are you going to continue counting calories and think it doesn't work? You can't be at 80% overweight and 50% obese if you think it's working. It's not. And it's getting worse every year. And right now, I know January 2nd, there's going to be a stampede of people going on diets, counting calories, paleo, keto, Mediterranean. But have they ever produced anything like that result you're looking at right there? No, they haven't. And all their studies are nonsense. Whoops, hold on. I get too excited, I get crazy, and I am crazy. But I had a trainer that I was in a really heated discussion with, and he said, you don't know what you're talking about. It's all about calories in, calories out, and intermittent fasting, where you don't eat for 16 hours, eat for 8. I said, well, show me the evidence. He sent me 3 peer-reviewed human trials. Yay, that's really good. The studies, 6 months. You know what the weight loss was? 12 pounds. You see how crazy this is? The bar is so low that we're accepting mediocrity and making it look like it's extraordinary. It's nonsense. That's extraordinary. Look at her neck and her arms and her stomach and her legs. And that's in 5 weeks, not 5 months, with no exercise. I mean, I can't yell loud enough. I understand I'm against the whole damn world because everybody out there, all the influencers, they're only telling you one thing: calories in, calories out at the end of the day. It doesn't work. It's complete and utter nonsense. I want someone to have a heated discussion with me about how the fact that we've got in 1964 to today, there's an 800% increase in the amount of people obese and overweight. And now we have 50% pre-diabetic, which is even worse. Do you know in 1964, there were almost no what are called metabolic or chronic diseases? Do you know that all chronic diseases are fueled by one thing? Lifestyle. What you're putting in your body really makes a difference, not the amount of calories. The density of the nutrition is the only thing your body works on. Why is that such a hard concept for all these influencers to get on? Because they'd lose their place. See, they're telling you what they know. I respect that. But what if everything they're telling you about diet, exercise, nutrition is totally wrong? Because it is. I mean, honestly, can you justify the fact that 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, 50% pre-diabetic? Go to Barnes & Noble, look at how many diets there are. It's like mind-numbing. And yet you have a chance for free? Lifting likely. Counting calories helped me lose over 125 million. Well, lifting like Larry, then just keep doing it. All I'm telling you is that your body has no idea what a calorie is. So what you were counting had nothing to do with calories. It had to do with nutrition. Now, again, I don't know if you did a really extensive analysis of what's going on inside your body about your muscle mass, okay? I don't know. And if you've kept it off, that's great. All I'm telling you is we can't possibly have 80% of America overweight and 50% obese if any of this stuff, it's all nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense. A calorie is just a measurement. Your body has no idea what a calorie is. So you didn't understand, you were really monitoring the amount of food, nutrition that you were getting. Okay, that's really, so at least we can agree on that. It has nothing to do with calories, okay? I gained muscle the entire time. Were you working out at all? Because you're such an anomaly then, okay? You should really applaud yourself. There's not a study out there with not up to 40% of what people lose. And also, how long ago did you lose it and how long have you did it, helped me, and made it for years? Good. I'm really happy for you. But for the rest of the population, well, again, have you ever, but you have to understand, I don't know how much you lost in what time period. We're talking about people here losing weight in a month that took a year on diets. That's all I can tell you. And I'm happy for you. I hope it works, okay? But again, what I want to show everybody else, let me put this down here. Yeah, I hope you're saying that's true, that counting calories is the most ridiculous thing anybody ever came up with, because your body has no idea what a calorie even is. But look, obviously 14% of the people, according in 2030, are not going to be overweight or obese. So hopefully you're going to be part of the 14%. But listen, right here, okay, you weren't on when I talked about this lifting like Larry. This is a study, 80 weight loss clinical trials. The researchers compared methods of lowering calories to lose weight. They said they found that any diet, by lowering calories, people lost weight. But the people steadily gained back all their weight and more. That's all I can tell you. This is 80 studies, not by me. It's not my opinion. I have no agenda. Why would I, Ryan, discourage you or discredit you from what you did or are doing or whatever? I hope it works long term. I'm just saying for the majority of people, it's not working. Are you kidding me? In 1964, 10% of America was overweight and obese, and now it's 80%. That's an 800% increase. Does that sound like diets are working? And whatever you did and worked for you, that's great. But you got to understand also the motivation of most people. I don't know if you worked out or didn't work out or whatever, but congratulations. I'm being totally sincere. See, one of the reasons, okay, understand, it's the term scientists made to measure. No, a calorie, well, okay, so here's this, you want the technical definition of a calorie. A calorie is simply the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. That's it. That's what a calorie is. It has nothing to do with energy. Energy is created by nutrition, not by calories. So let's just clarify that, okay? It has nothing to do with the calorie. It has, if you want to look at it a different way, it has only to do with what's inside the calorie. Because otherwise, you could go on a diet and you could go to 2,000 calories a day. You absolutely lose weight. But let's look at 2 different ways to lose weight. The first one, lean chicken, fish, salads, 2,000 calories. If it's only about the calorie counting, then let's go 2,000 calories, 3 bags of M&Ms. That's the absurdity of a calorie argument, ignoring nutrition. If you have not lost muscle, it's because you had enough nutrition. Whatever you were eating, congratulations. But you can't ignore the fact that 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. I mean, that's just the reality of what's going on. Let's see, who else? So anyway, Hope, Lift, and Larry, at least you understand now that a calorie is a measurement. That's it, okay? And nutrition is the only thing that we made. Oh, wow. Somebody came on, phenomenal protocol, recommend everyone. That's very nice of you to say that. But again, Larry, what I'm saying, you show me any diet that you've ever seen anybody do with those kind of results in 5 weeks. Look at the change in her neck, her arms, her waist, and her legs. That's not photoshopped. Okay? With no exercise, by the way, Lift and Larry, no exercise, okay? So for all of you, what I want to do is I want to encourage you. I'll put it one last time before I close this session out, the new health conversation. It's free to go there. It's just a medical proof. But here's the other thing, Larry, I think you're missing, okay? Let me just do this. Don't get mad at me. I'm a scientist. You and me and everybody were suffering from the TDOS syndrome. What does TDOS stand for? Toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, overweight, and stress. You have done nothing, zero, to remove the chemicals we're storing inside our fat cells. Whether you know it or not, you have done zero. Every diet out there, they've never it's never shown losing 1 gram of a toxin. These studies, and the reason they were so amazing is because when they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, they proved this was removing chemicals from the body. That's why she shrank, because what our body's doing, it's taking the chemical and stuffing it inside our visceral fat. The visceral fat is the fat around our organs. And when the body stores it, that fat cell expands. Well, because they were able to prove they were removing herbicides and pesticides from the body, those fat cells shrank by 33% in 8 weeks with no exercise. Look what she did in 5 weeks. That's why she shrank, not because of some diet. That's the key. The key to doing this is not to lose the weight, it's to detoxify your body. And for those of you that don't think that you're toxic, Larry, you included, let me read the latest medical evidence, because they didn't even know we were storing chemicals in our body till 2005, Mount Sinai Medical School in New York. Listen to this, everyone. The Endocrine Society, the largest organization of experts devoted to research on hormones and the clinical practice of endocrinology, reports the rise in incidence of obesity matches the rise in the use and distribution of industrialized chemicals. They give these chemicals a name, they call them obesogens. Obesogens, simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal system, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our body from a variety of sources, from natural compounds in soy, hormones fed to animals, plastics in food packaging, chemicals added to processed food, and pesticides sprayed on produce. They act in a variety of ways, mimicking human hormones such as estrogen and blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. Further evidence. Dr. Frederick Von Saul, PhD, Professor of Biological Science, University of Missouri, Columbia. Obesogens are acting by hijacking our regulatory systems that control body weight. The presence of obesogens is the first reason that traditional dieting methods have become outdated. Never before have low carbohydrate, low calorie diets been forced to accommodate for this level of synthetic chemicals and the adverse effects they have on the body. That's why to do this. Larry, with all due respect, what you did, you didn't remove a toxin from your body. Because they've done the studies. Nothing else before this has ever produced that result. That's why the main reason to do this, it's not a weight loss program. It's about enabling your own body to detox and help the body to get rid of the stuff we're storing. Right now, all of you were breathing in the fumes from the coal-fired power plants in China from 2 weeks ago, the lithium, the cadmium, and the mercury. This is really, you're seeing it in the national press now. They're waking up and saying, wait a minute, our food is becoming nutritionally bankrupt. They're putting chemicals and sugar in it, and now we're breathing in toxins. I discovered the damn syndrome. I mean, hello, I'm the canary in the coal mine. I get it. It's a lonely job because I'm against everything that you've been told, that all the social medias, that's what they're telling you. So that's why the weight loss, vanity-wise, it's great. And even if you've kept it off, but you did nothing to detox your body. My God, they came out Starbucks coffee 8 weeks ago. 1 cup. You're getting 25,000 microplastics in every cup of Starbucks coffee. What are we doing? How do I detox my body? How do we detox? Coach Mahogany and HCM. This protocol that they set up, they have the medical proof. They did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis and proof. So the protocol has nothing to do with calories. Let's get that off the table. What the researchers figured out, and this is the problem with every diet, we have a minimum amount of nutrition that we need in order to run the systems in our body. Do you know did all of you know you have a natural detox mechanism when you went to sleep last night? As long as you didn't eat too late, once you went to sleep, the body basically suspends digestion. And the body automatically, without you doing anything, detoxes. It's called autophagy. It gets rid of the dead cells. But that in and of itself is not powerful enough to interact to remove the herbicides, the pesticides, the scotch, even the plastics we're storing in our bodies, whether you know it or not. So what the researchers did was figured out if we were going to lower the amount of food we gave people, we could lower the amount of nutrition. So what they did, they put food lists together that you would get 30% of the food, proteins, fats, carbs, you'd buy from your local grocery store. But the other 70%, this was the key, came from 5 food groups from around the world, from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand, that represented massive amounts of nutrition, but not massive amounts of quantity. So here's what they did. 5 days a week, they gave people 4 meals a day. You started with the 5 foods from around the world. You had lunch from the grocery list. You had a 3rd meal from the grocery list. And your 4th meal of the day was the world's most perfect meals. You did that 5 days a week. 2 days a week, you did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not fasting. But what they were able to do is replicate that same process when you were asleep. Why? Because the people were consuming very little quantity of food, but massive amounts of nutrition. So the body was able to all but suspend digestion and turn on the detox mechanism. They have the medical proof. They did blood, they did stool, they did urine, they did fat analysis, proving that this was automatically triggering the detox mechanism in our body when we're awake. And what was the benefit? People shrank, just like that young woman. That's 5 weeks. Because what our body's doing, your body's to protect you, it's taking that chemical as a last line of defense and stuffing it in the visceral fat. That's the fat around your organs. You have an outer layer of fat, that's called adipose or subcutaneous. That's a fancy medical term. But the underlying fat, the dangerous fat, is around your organs, called visceral fat. There are new studies now saying that high degrees of visceral fat are a leading contributing factor to Alzheimer's disease. That's why this visceral fat is so important. So what's happening, your body, to protect you, is taking the chemical, stuffing it in the visceral fat, and the visceral fat expands. Do you know in this study, no one was allowed to exercise, and yet in 8 weeks, they shrank their visceral fat by, look at her. That's 5 weeks. Are you kidding me? Unless you think it's Photoshop, which it's not. So again, I hope that gives you kind of a Coach Mahogany and also HCM, and what you can do to go see the medical proof, including an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. This website that I'm going to post for all of you, it's free to go there. There's nothing to buy. We don't have anything for sale to buy there. And if you like what you see, after you've gotten to see all the medical proof, including an interview with the #1 nutritional weight loss physiologist in the world, then you can get more information. Scroll down as a place to get more information. We're not fooling around here, ladies and gentlemen. We have these peer-reviewed human trial studies that were done by scratch on this protocol that was invented by the top weight loss people in the world. They don't sell anything. They don't have any products. They don't have a company. We don't sell anything to you. But they provided the science, which was what food groups to put together to create the world's most perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint of view. Nothing to do with calories. Calories, it's nonsense. I mean, if you want to count calories, I'd ask you the question, wait a minute. Why aren't you concentrating on what's inside the calorie if it's just a number? Because even Harvard Medical School said that. They said, stop counting calories. Most people have been taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. Cut calories 3,500, you lose about a pound. But as it turns out, experts are learning that this decade-old strategy is totally misguided. Totally misguided. That's good enough for me. That's Harvard Medical School. But I also go on the evidence. Look at Don't believe your lying eyes and think we photoshopped it. We didn't. If you go to the website, you're going to see people there, men and women, lost 100 pounds, no loose skin. Well, can you imagine? Men lose 2 to 4 inches in the first week. Women lost up to a whole dress size in 7 days. No one was allowed to exercise. And yet in a month, people lost as much weight as people typically lose in a year, lost no water weight, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise. You show me anything. Please put it in the chat. Anybody show me anything like that. In 30 days. Because see, the whole program is called R2M, Race to Maintenance. So the whole key, it's not a question of getting the weight off you. It's like, get the weight off you. That's the end of the beginning. You're just starting. Then we teach you how to keep it off for the rest of your life. Look, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks. 22 years ago, I've kept it off for 22 years. That's what you should be focused on. And I know for a lot of you, you're probably going to go and you're going to do paleo or keto or Mediterranean, these diets. I mean, I read before, this is 80 clinical trials on weight loss, 80 of them, not 80. And they said, the researchers in examining 80 weight loss clinical trials on lowering calories, the researchers compared different forms of reducing calories to lose weight. They found that a diet that was based on lowering calories, initially people lost weight loss, but people steadily gained back all their weight and more. That's 80 studies. Why are you going on a diet that your chances are minimal that you're not going to gain back everything you lost? What have you accomplished? And you've made yourself less unhealthy. Why? Because all the studies show what? Up to 40% of what you lose on any diet is your lean muscle mass. And when that happens, your body does 2 of the most unhealthy things you can imagine. One, it slows down your metabolism. That's why you plateau. That's why you come off the diet, you gain everything back. But worse, it also impacts your own immune system. Now, I have a big study here from the New England Journal of Medicine. We don't have we're not against the shots. Let's be clear. It was a 68-week study on semaglutide. At the end of right in the study, in 68 weeks, the average weight loss was about 32 pounds. And right in the addendum to the study, it says that 40% of what people lost on the shots was lean muscle mass. So guess what's happening? People are coming off the shots. They're gaining as much as a half a pound a day. It's just a diet. It's slowing down the food as it passes through your digestive tract so you're full longer, but you're consuming less food. That is the point of this whole thing. It has nothing to do with calories. It only has to do with the nutrition. When you deprive your body of enough nutrition to run all the organs, the brain has no choice but to shut down fat burning and turn to your muscles for fuel. That's what you're doing to yourselves. But look at her. And she's not the only one. I've got another one here that this is 30 days. Hopefully you can see that. She lost 21.2 pounds and 38.75 inches in a month. Now, before you go crazy and say, oh, it's unhealthy to lose that much weight that fast, on a diet it would be. This is not a diet. This is just completely different. It's infusing our body with massive amounts of nutrition in very little quantity. That's why it works. And the researchers that figured this out, it was after 38 years of looking at 100 studies, thousands of people. It's not my opinion. I'm the researcher of the researchers. It's not my research, let's be clear. Our job at the New Health Conversation is just to make you aware. I know most of you are going to go, you're going to believe these influences, and they're going to tell you things like, one of the ones I want to blow up and just blow to smithereens is this whole thing around you don't eat for 16 hours and you eat for 8, okay? But let's look at the medical evidence, because up until recently, the only studies ever done on that, don't eat for 16 hours, eat for 8, were done on mice and rats. This is the Journal of the American Medical Association, new study on human beings, and here's what they said. The Journal of the American Medical Association, new research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast for 16 hours daily gained almost, this is their words, not mine, gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost 2 to 3.5 pounds, and the weight that they shed was mostly lean muscle mass, not body fat. Would you go on that to lose 2 to 3.5 pounds in 3 months? But it's kind of in line with the trainer who sent me studies on this, on intermittent fasting. 6 months, the weight loss was 12 pounds. I mean, these influencers come on and they give you these stories. They don't have any facts. They give you opinions. We don't give you opinions. If you want opinions, there's plenty of people that can give you opinions. We know we're the canaries in the coal mine screaming, saying, wake up, open your eyes, see what's happening. I swear to any of you, do any of you really think that we could go from 10% of America overweight and obese in 1964 to 60 years later, we're at 80% overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, and a new study that was just this is from Johns Hopkins Medical School, one of the biggest medical schools, right, in the world. They said, study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese. Does that sound like diets are working to all of you? And yet, most of you are going to do it. You're going to go blindly. You're going to follow the influencers. Why? Why are you believing something that is, it's not working. It just isn't. I know we had a gentleman, every once in a while, yeah, someone maybe, but for the majority of people, you all have gone on diets and plateaued and you've had it all come back. Why in the world are you thinking that somehow are you going to be the exception? I don't know. Because obviously 14% of the population in 5 years won't be overweight or obese. But my God, 86% overweight and obese in less than 5 years. Does that sound like something that's working? So again, HCM and Coach Mahogany, I hope that makes sense. But again, all of you, I don't want you to believe me. I'm the researcher of the researchers. But the website, you can see it at the bottom, the New Health Conversation. You can see everything there for free. If you go to that website, we don't contact you. We're not going to call you. We don't do that. But aren't you a little bit curious to go and see the interview with the #1 weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world? To give you an idea how prestigious he is, they rate scientific research. And to get a really high rating is about 30. These are their numbers. His rating is 46. I mean, this is the top person in the world. He and his team created this. They did 38 years of research, hundreds of studies, thousands of people. You know what they figured out? Like Thomas Edison. You ever hear that story? They came out and said, you failed 3,000 times inventing the light bulb. He said, no, I didn't. I just figured out 3,000 ways not to invent it. That's what these researchers did. And they don't sell anything. They don't have a product. This isn't a lotion, potion, pill, capsule. It doesn't work like that. It's food. But new food groupings with only 30% organic from this country. And the other 70% from foods around the world that have no herbicides, no pesticides, massive amounts of nutrition, like we used to have in our food in this country about 100 years ago. But we've so overfarmed and we so overuse herbicides. And we have tremendous quantities of food, but almost no, we have almost no, what was I going to say? Nutrition. They're saying it, you're seeing it in the national press now. They're saying that basically the food companies have put chemicals. Our food is not, it's almost dead. Even if you do organic, 200 studies, they studied organic versus regular food. It's slightly better nutritionally and it's less polluted, and that's why I eat it. Again, you're all free. Do whatever you want to do. Believe whatever you want to do. Don't believe your lying eyes. If you think that we Photoshop those, then you shouldn't even be on this podcast, because then you think we're just lying to you. We're trying to trick you. There's no tricks here. Our website, there's nothing to buy on there. It's all free. The only way we can get a hold of you is if you want more information, scroll down. That's it. So would anybody else like to ask me another question? What's the website? Okay, I'm going to put it right below you. HCM, hopefully, does this make sense to you? Do you understand why this is so different and extraordinary compared to anything? Well, look at her before and after pictures, you know? Those aren't Photoshopped. I mean, like I said, most guys, how excited would you be if you lost 2 to 4 inches off your waist in 7 days with no exercise? They're not against exercise. Everybody hear that. But they eliminated exercise in these studies. Why? Because they wanted to see what would happen to people. In a month's time, men and women lost as much weight as a year on any diet with no exercise, gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Why? Because they were getting massive amounts of nutrition. Part of it was amino acids that are responsible to make muscle in the body. It's not that complicated. That's what they did. I'd love that. No, cortisol. Let me tell you this, HCM. In the studies, one of the things, or in the World's Most Perfect Meals, one of the things that they used as one of the foods came from Mongolia in Russia. And it contains these ingredients. They're called adaptogens, okay? Now, what are adaptogens? You're going to love this. The first thing they do, massively lower stress. But the other thing that they do, and we have the medical proof to back it up, they lower inflammation. So your stress and your inflammation kind of go hand in hand. And inflammation is the underlying cause of every disease out there. But can you imagine? Now, look, HCM, if you want to exercise, you can exercise. But again, part of what we do, you get a free coach, free. Not just the initial consultation, but all the way through, because you've never done anything like this before. We're teaching you. We give you the food list free to go to the grocery store. We show you how to buy the foods directly from those suppliers, not from us. We don't sell anything. The researchers don't sell anything. But you get to buy directly from the same suppliers who supplied the foods to the research. But listen to this part. HCM, the people who supply the 70% of the food you buy, they offer you 100% money back guarantee in the first 30 days. No questions asked. They'll even pay return shipping. Try to find that on, now granted, nothing's 100%, of course, but it's so rare when anybody ever wants their weight. And the main reason to do this is the weight loss initially, HCM, is just to get you to the starting line. Then we teach you how to maintain it. Like I heard you say before, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks, 22 years ago. I've kept it off for 22 years. That's what you should focus on. And if you want to work out, of course, it's going to be just that much better. But you understand why they didn't let people exercise, because they had to eliminate exercise as a factor, which they did. Good. So again, let me put the website for you there as your Christmas present, for all of you, a Christmas present. You all can see it there, the New Health Conversation, all right? And the bottom line behind all of this is, okay, let me say something else to all of you. How many of you 5 years ago could have imagined what Elon Musk did? Wait a minute. We're launching a rocket into space, and the booster rocket comes back and they catch it in a stand? Who on earth would have believed that was possible? Not me. So I look at this HCM and I say this, just because it was never invented or discovered doesn't mean it wasn't possible. That's what they did. They didn't know if it was going to work. It was a theory. Do you get it? It was a theory. They didn't know it was going to work. How could they have known it was going to work? This is going to change the world. You know what this is doing? It's going to obsolete every diet out there. These researchers, they're getting calls from like the top obesity experts at Harvard and Stanford. And so I get critics pushing back. I don't know what I'm talking about. Really? And I'm not telling you this to impress your HCM or anybody else. I wrote 4 best-selling books with some of the top medical doctors in the world. I did 20 shows on PBS. I was interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America and did over 1,500 live lectures at medical schools, at universities. They even flew me to China. I think I know a little bit. But again, I'm not the expert. I'm the researcher of the researchers, and we're bringing this to you for free. Doesn't that sound like a good... What do you have to lose by going to the website? That's not a pun, by the way. I mean, it's free. We're not even going to contact you. If you go, there's nothing to buy. What are we missing here? I don't think we're missing anything. So would anybody else like to ask me a question before I close out this podcast? Wow, I can't believe it's already been an hour. Time flies when you're having fun. But for the new people coming on, those pictures are not photoshopped or doctored in any way. That literally is 5 weeks. On the left, look at the transformation. The neck, the arms, the stomach area, the legs. Look at that. I mean, you can think whatever you want. That it's not photoshopped. And by the way, that was without no exercise allowed. And in this new protocol, which is not a diet, it has nothing to do with counting calories. It's a combination of food, 30% from America and 70% from around the world, that represented massive amounts of nutrition, but not massive amounts of quantity. And then they created 2 new ways of consuming the food. 5 days a week, you do something where 5 days a week, you have 4 meals a day. What? Yeah, you start with these 5 foods around the world. You have lunch from a specific grocery list we give you, or they developed, the researchers. You have a 3rd meal from the grocery list, and the 4th meal, the world's most perfect meal. And then 2 days a week, you do something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not fasting. You're fasting with nutrition. And in a week, women lost as much weight, well, men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet they've ever been on. Women lost a whole dress size in 7 days. Men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist in a month. People lost as much weight as a year on diets, losing no water, and instead of losing lean muscle, gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle. You can see all the medical proof on that website at the bottom where it says the new health conversation for the new people coming on, because I'm about ready to shut down this podcast for right now. It's probably going to be the last one I do. So in the meantime, and I know this is going all over the world, so it's Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever celebration you're celebrating, celebrate it, etc. We're giving you, we think, a gift to the world because it's a worldwide crisis. We have, according to The Lancet, one of the biggest medical journals in the world, a study released in March of 2024, 9 months ago, 1 billion people worldwide are clinically obese, not just overweight. And they went on to say, making obesity the leading form of malnutrition in the world. They said people that are underweight and people that are obese don't understand that they're nutritionally bankrupt because they don't have the right amount of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients necessary to fuel the body. That's the whole concept here. It's not about how much you're eating. It's about what's in the food you are consuming that the body runs on. It doesn't run on calories. It doesn't know what a calorie is. Counting calories is completely ludicrous. It doesn't work. Okay? So again, in closing, I invite any of you to go. You can see it there, the new health conversation. I know that's going to, thank you. I'm glad I found you. I'll check out. Happy holidays to you too, HCM. Yeah, do yourself the biggest present you can give yourself, closing out 2024, better than anything under the tree, is your health. HCM, do you agree? Our health is our wealth. What else do we have? And imagine the problem, and this makes people bad, including you. You probably get mad. You have no idea how bad you feel right now because you don't understand how good you could feel. What would it be like to lower stress? How about lowering inflammation by 25% in a month? All those little aches and pains and stiffness gone, right? So anyway, I appreciate all of you spending some time with us today. And again, you can see it there, the new health conversation. That's a flea. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm glad you agree. So all of you, happy rest of your day, night, evening, because I know we're all around the world with this podcast. So people are getting up, they're going to bed. In England now, they've already opened all their presents, probably, whatever. But I'm going to go and enjoy a little bit of Christmas cheer here. So see y'all later. Bye-bye.